Adanna was a woman blessed by the gods with a beauty that turned heads and stopped conversations. She had it all: a life cushioned by wealth, a career on the rise, and a line of men eager for her attention. But despite all this, an emptiness gnawed at her, a void that grew larger every time she visited her friend Ifunanya. It wasn't just the lavish home or the designer clothes that sparked her envy. It was the way Ifunanya's husband, Chief Obiora, looked at his wife. It was in the small, intimate moments. The way he held her hand as if it were a fragile gem, the way he served her dinner before taking a bite himself, the way he'd gently rub her feet after a long day whispering, "My queen." Each tender gesture was a dagger to Adanna's heart, a bitter reminder of what she didn't have. Jealousy, a venomous snake, began to coil around her soul, cleverly disguised as admiration. One evening, after another opulent dinner at Ifunanya and Chief Obiora's estate, Adanna returned to her mother's house, her mind a storm of discontent. She paced the room, ranting about the injustice of it all. Why did Ifunanya, so plain and simple, have the one thing Adanna truly craved? Her mother, Mama Nkechi, a woman who had seen the world in all its shades of gray, listened patiently. When Adanna finally fell silent, her mother's voice cut through the stillness, calm and sharp as a shard of glass. "Then take him," she said. Adanna stared, bewildered. "What?" "You heard me," Mama Nkechi continued, her eyes glinting. "You are beautiful. You are smart. You deserve the best this life has to offer. Ifunanya is your friend, yes, but she is living the life that should have been yours. Use the gifts you were given." The words, heavy with permission and poison, settled deep within Adanna. That night, sleep offered no peace. Instead, a seed of a plan was planted, and with her mother's encouragement, it began to sprout. The campaign began subtly. With Mama Nkechi's guidance, a mix of ancient charms and modern cunning, Adanna started to weave her web. It started with food, delicious, specially prepared dishes delivered to Chief Obiora's office, a thoughtful gesture from his wife's dearest friend. Then came the carefully placed words, compliments that lingered in the air long after she had spoken them. She engineered moments to be alone with him, a seemingly accidental brush of her hand against his, a shared glance held a second too long, a soft laugh that hinted at something more. She became a constant, comforting presence in his life, a beautiful alternative to the familiar comfort of his wife. The seduction was a slow, deliberate dance, and Adanna was a masterful performer. Months bled into one another, and slowly she felt Chief Obiora's defenses crumble. His admiration for her beauty deepened into something more tangible, something she could finally grasp. The inevitable happened. One afternoon, Ifunanya returned home from a visit to her family to find the house unnervingly quiet. Chief Obiora was gone. His closets were empty, and on the dresser lay a simple, cruel note. He had left with Adanna. Living with Chief Obiora was like stepping into the very fantasy she had coveted for so long. The life she had only watched from the outside was now hers. Gold jewelry draped her neck, closets overflowed with fine clothes, and a fleet of luxury cars awaited her command. Servants hurried to fulfill her every whim. She was, finally, the queen. But amidst this dazzling new reality, one strange rule cast a shadow over their perfect life. Chief Obiora would only make love to her in absolute, suffocating darkness. The first night she reached for a candle, wanting to see the face of the man who had given her everything. His voice was sharp, cutting through the dark. "No lights, ever," he commanded. Surprised but undeterred, Adanna smiled into the blackness, her voice a seductive purr. "No problem, my king." She would not let a small eccentricity ruin her victory. She had won. Years melted away in a golden haze of luxury. Adanna had everything a woman could desire, except for the one thing that began to haunt her waking thoughts and her silent, empty nights: a child. The grand mansion, once a symbol of her triumph, now echoed with a deafening silence. She visited countless doctors, sought out healers and specialists, but her womb remained barren. Meanwhile, friends and old acquaintances paraded their growing families, their laughter and the cries of their children serving as a constant, painful reminder of her own incompleteness. Desperation, cold and sharp, finally pushed her to do the unthinkable. Swallowing the last remnants of her pride, she sought out the one person she had wronged so deeply, the woman whose life she had stolen. She went to find Ifunanya. Finding her was not difficult. Ifunanya lived a quiet, modest life now. Adanna arrived unannounced, and it took hours of desperate pleading, of tears and choked apologies, before Ifunanya would even look at her. Finally, after Adanna had exhausted every last word of bargaining, Ifunanya looked into her rival's tear-filled eyes, her own gaze steady and devoid of pity. "You want to know why you can't conceive?" she asked, her voice flat. "Fine, I will tell you. You took my husband, Adanna, but you never knew what you were truly taking." Adanna felt a chill creep down her spine. "What do you mean?" Ifunanya's next words hung in the air, heavy and horrifying. "Obiora is not just a wealthy man, Adanna. He's a ritualist. His power, his riches, they come at a price. He treats his wife like a queen, because she is more than a wife. She is the source, the sacrifice." Adanna gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. "What are you saying?" Ifunanya leaned closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "The darkness. It's not a preference, it's a necessity. If you ever turn on the light while he is with you, you will see the truth. His manhood, it isn't human. It's a serpent's head. That is the source of his power, and that is why you will never bear a child." That night, Adanna returned to the mansion, her heart a drumbeat of terror and morbid curiosity. The truth, no matter how monstrous, had to be seen. She waited in the familiar darkness of their bedroom as Chief Obiora came to her. His hands began to roam her body, but this time, her mind was not on pleasure. It was on the lamp beside the bed. As he moved over her, her hand, trembling but resolute, reached out and flicked the switch. The room was flooded with light. What she saw shattered her sanity. Obiora's face was twisted in a mask of pure fury, but it was what she saw below his waist that made her scream, a raw, primal sound of absolute horror. Where a man should be, there was something else, something thick, scaled, and alive. A serpent's head, its forked tongue flicking in and out, its beady eyes staring right at her. Adanna scrambled backward, tumbling off the bed, her mind unable to process the monstrosity. "You disobeyed me," he hissed, his voice no longer human but a guttural echo. "You broke the one rule." I didn't know," she stammered, crawling away from him. "It's too late," he snarled. He raised a hand, and as he began to mutter in a strange, ancient tongue, a darkness far deeper than the absence of light descended upon Adanna, swallowing her from the inside out. The next morning, the servants found Adanna outside the main gate. She was rolling in the dirt, her fine silk nightgown torn and filthy. She was laughing, a high, hysterical sound that chilled the air, whispering nonsense to unseen figures. She was never the same again. Her mind had shattered, leaving only a hollow, giggling shell. Some said it was guilt that drove her mad. Others whispered it was the shock of what she had seen. But far away, Ifunanya, hearing the news, felt a sad, quiet finality. "The darkness she loved so much," she murmured to herself, "is now her only companion." And Chief Obiora? His wealth and power required a constant source. It wasn't long before he took another wife, another beautiful woman to call his queen. Because some thrones built on darkness and secrets must always have a sacrifice.